I actually absolutely thought I have financial clarity, but my husband, bless him, there was one morning when I casually just went to him asking for investment into my small business. But he got angry because he's been asking me to do a budget for the past year. But that was exactly what I needed. I actually didn't take Fetti as seriously as I thought I did. Hi, I'm Angela Lei. I'm founder of Fetti, and I'm here on Oh She Can Drive.
I'm Haraya, a four-time entrepreneur who knows how brave you have to be to start your own venture. So I'm talking to women entrepreneurs, creatives, and experts to understand what it really takes to do things your own way. Welcome to Oh She Can Drive, the podcast where we have brave conversations about dreams, challenges, and trade-offs to help you take the next step on your unique journey to building something meaningful. Let's get into it. Today, I'm sitting down with Angela Lei, the founder behind Fetti. They are hand-painted, reusable press-ons. I'm really excited for this conversation because Angela left behind a career in law, a decade of writing for Forbes, and decided to build something entirely on her own in such a different industry. And a head full of, in her own words, beautifully naive optimism. So in this episode, we'll talk about the gap between founder fantasy and founder reality, what it really takes to start over, and we'll also talk about Angela's unique philosophy when it comes to nails as a form of self-expression. Angela, welcome to Oh She Can Drive.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited, and I want to start exactly there. Your philosophy, or what you've come to uncover as the whole psychology behind nails.
Oh my God, nails. I think it's such a huge topic without people realizing that,
Totally.
right? I mean, if today you go to 100 girls and say, show me your hand, 99 of them will immediately curl their fingers backwards and say, oh my God, don't look at my hands because my cuticles or whatever, or my nails are not done. People think it's a finishing touches to put together a look that is for shown for the outside world. It really isn't, because people are not looking at it. It's such a small element, but it is the smallest unit of luxury that serves you first, because you're the person who's looking at it constantly. You picking up a water, you pick up your children, you driving cars, you send a message. You're looking at it all the time, which makes people so self-conscious when you ask to see their hands. You know, that's the first thing they think of.
It's so true.
Getting your nails done is more like a microdose of confidence boost that help you feel you're ready to take on the world. Because you can have a lot of fun with this like little square centimeter that you have on your hand.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, you speak about this topic so beautifully, and you really made me think about it in a way that I had never before. Well, look at us making nail talk deep.
know.
This couch, I think, turns everything into a deep conversation.
I love that. We're going to uncover everything that is deep relating to nails.
We're gonna find it.
Yeah.
So I want to rewind to your three distinct careers, starting with being a corporate lawyer, then a contributor at Forbes, of all places, and now a founder. When you look back at those two versions and the new one now, which one surprises you the most?
I mean, I have to say, without doubt, it's a founder version. I think I know exactly why also, because I think as a lawyer, you're basically trained to mitigate risks and stay safely within the line. That's basically your job. If you're risk-taking and doing anything that's overly creative, your clients won't be very happy and your firm won't be very happy either. And as a Forbes contributor, I was in touch with so many beautiful founders and learned about their story, but you're at a bystander point of view. You're not really in the arena doing the job and taking the journey yourself.
Yeah.
So I think as a founder, you're almost liberated to a way to take your own gut instinct as the direction, and then learn to step outside of your comfort zone and make that decision that might scare you a little bit, and throw everything out of the, perimeters where you've thought everything should stay within, and then put yourself forward to build that one thing you believe in so much about. So I feel like that version of myself was something I never envisioned will come alive. But I also feel like it was inevitable because of the path I have taken. And I think especially given that I've started this journey in my late 30s, early 40s, it was incredibly scary, but incredibly liberating at the same time as you discover who you are as a person, not defined by your titles or what you do, the platform you are associated with. So I think it was a journey of finding yourself, building something, and learn to grow both as a business person and also as a woman, as an individual yourself.
Yeah.
So I feel like that part.
I mean, what you're saying is so interesting because if you think of a scale, it's almost like being a corporate lawyer is on one extreme and then being a founder is on the other side.
It really is.
Right?
Yeah.
Although there's obviously a huge amount of skills that you've developed throughout that are super useful. But in terms of that framework or the guidelines of almost one you have to color inside the lines and one you have to color outside of the lines.
Yeah,
literally.
completely.
They feel so separate. And I'm very interested to hear the accumulation of moments when you realize that despite your background, your education, your career so far, you were actually going to step out and build something completely different on your own.
For me, it never was really a epiphany, one single moment. It was a slow accumulation of different moments. And I feel like in China, there was a idiom called 温水煮青蛙, which means the frog in lukewarm but boiling water. So basically what it means is that the frog is feeling so comfortable right now. And it's like, I don't need to move. I don't need to move. But when it wanted to move, it's already too late because the water has already reached boiling point and the frog was going to die.
I absolutely love that you have so many proverbs as part of the Chinese
culture.
That's what
my husband says as well. Angela always has a saying behind everything.
I hope we're going to hear more in this episode.
Yes. So I felt very much like that frog. I knew I was in a very comfortable place, even though law is difficult. I just felt like it wasn't so difficult. You have a lot of other people's support as a firm, right? You're not kind of like fighting this battle on your own. You have your superior, you have your assistants, you have people who are doing a bunch of other research. You're supported.
You're part of a whole system and a team and a process, and you're playing a role in that ecosystem.
Exactly. But I knew that if I don't step outside of it, metaphorically and mentally, I was probably going to die at some point if I don't make the change. And that point came actually when I made partner. Because for years, I thought that was the finish line. You know, you have the glorified title, you have everything else. And very quickly after I had the title, I realized that you still have so many bureaucratic limitations to carry out what you want to do and what you think is right for the firm. So when that realization hit, I was like, you know what? I need to make a change. I need to build something that is 100% of my own. And obviously, was kind of like learning about other people's story and writing about their story, being the observer, also gave me a sweet taste of what it could be, of building something, the fulfillment behind building something that you can say, this is my baby. You know, I think that really prompted me to take the leap. I loved listening to other founders' stories because the more I listened to it, the more I longed for that kind of creativity of building something from scratch. And I think something within me that was probably inherently there already as a child was having its awakening a little bit. Yeah.
It was like being poked. I think this is really interesting because writing for Forbes gave you this front row seat into other people's founder stories.
Yes.
A lot of these stories, when you write about them, they can seem like an overnight success, right? But what most people don't see, and sometimes even you as the interviewer, is the hidden investor, the existing following, but like everything that brought them to that point. So do you think that interviewing all those founders made it easier or harder for you when launching your own business?
I would say 100% harder, but not for the reason you might think.
Tell me.
I think I basically was, I kept on saying I was of a very naive mindset back then because for me, to that point in my adult life, nothing felt that hard. Going to the right school, obtaining grades, or even, kind of climbing the corporate ladder, didn't feel it took a lot of effort. Again, like I said, there was an ecosystem around you. You were supported. And I felt like if I kept on coasting like that, it was going to be sufficient. And it was a rude awakening that, obviously building your own business when you yourself and you are the only people responsible for that is not going to have the same sort of end result as you would in the corporate or in some other place.
It's like nothing is defined.
Exactly.
In all of those other systems, there's a structure, and if you follow it and if you excel, you achieve these defined results.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I fully 100% naively thought, since I'm intelligent, I'm not stupid, I carry out work like I work hard and stuff, this is going to be the next billion-dollar business right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like from day one, going to be a huge success. I'm going to be on the cover, whatever, and this is going to be amazing. But I also ate up all the kind of PR trained stories that was told to me by these founders. I mean, all fairness, when they reach that point of being written by Forbes, your initial struggles and early days were probably such a distant memory. You don't remember very much. And also people don't want to hear a sob story. You want to tell the journalist about your milestones, your achievement, the business's achievements, which is all fair play. But I think it was my fault to have taken everything, their highlight reel as kind of like the reality of daily mundane life.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that gave me a false sense of security, thinking once you have the right product, everything else was going to follow. But I also feel like without that, I was never going to feel safe enough to take the leap. 100%. I would have never had the courage. I think there is a phrase that perfectly sums up to the founder kind of experience. We don't do this. We don't go into it because it's easy. We go into it because we thought it was going to be easy. And that was exactly what I did.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a fair point there.
Exactly. Once I went in, I was like, whoa, it's not easy.
And I really want to go back to the story around the vision that you had about how it would be when you were going to launch. But first, I just want to circle back on the illusion of overnight success. And from your perspective, especially that you've been on the other side, writing about these stories, for anyone that's listening today and that may feel demotivated when they're reading an article about someone's success or when they're seeing a highlight reel about someone's success, what is it that you would like the listeners to really understand about these moments?
One, you gotta understand nothing is at face value. What is written is really the best of achievement that's worth shouting about. And what they have done behind the scene might have taken years and years and years of effort, of feeling like in the dark, of trying to move the needle but failing to get to that point of something worthy of shouting out about. And I think recently I went to an event for Rodal. I read her book. So Maria's first book, I think, was titled How to Become an Overnight Success. And in the very first chapter, she's like, it took me 18 years to become overnight success, because everybody kept on asking her, how come you made a brand that's so successful? Everything, her snake serum was selling out. She was on the cover of something, and her friends are celebrities, and she's attending all these glitzy events and stuff. It's never as glitzy as it seems.
Yeah.
It always takes way more operational heartache and headache to get someone to that place.
Yeah. Do you think that there's been a shift in how founders tell their stories, or how journalists and even podcasts now highlight a little bit more about the reality of the business?
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially given now that everybody has a free platform. You're able to reach so many more people without the traditional established publications or channels, etc. So I think people also resonate with the authenticity behind everything. And when people are telling you, oh yeah, I built this brand because I had a viable product, and all of a sudden organically it just grew from 2 people to 100,000 followers, people don't take that at face value anymore. I think we all grew, even as an audience. Even you don't have to be in the industry to kind of realize that. And I think founders also know that they no longer have to put up a pristine front to be admired by others. And I think they feel I think most of the founders I speak to now feel that it's is better, and also it helps their audience to understand the behind the scenes stuff
Yeah.
when they tell a more truthful story.
I want to then fast forward to the moment you launched, thinking the product is great, it
Oh,
will
God.
sell. Take me back to that day.
Oh my God, I remember this like it was yesterday because it's still it's a funny story now. It wasn't so funny back then.
I'm sure.
I also have been driving everybody absolutely crazy. My shipping people, my fulfillment, my website designers, my branding people, because I was like, we need to make this launch day. Because the whole world is waiting for Fetti's grand opening, right? I truly felt that. I was like, if I'm missing this day, there was like millions of sales are going to be missed.
It's like so much importance gets put into that one day.
Exactly. And I thought once you launched, once you push the button saying publish on Shopify, you can just sit back and wait for the orders to pour in. And I mean, spoiler alert, it didn't happen like that. So an hour into it, I was like, wait, what is happening? Like, babe, my Shopify is broken. It hasn't pinged. So I literally have to get onto my laptop and made an order myself to make sure that it still functions right. And then it was 2 hours into it, it finally pinged. And let me tell you, like for anyone with Shopify, it is the most delicious, addictive sound ever.
Yes.
I suppose it is because it's money and money is energy. So it's very, it's a delicious sound.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. So I rushed to my phone. I check it. And it was my friend. I was like, oh, it's my friend. It was my friend Zoe. She placed the first order. I was too shy at the time to kind of like admit that there was no orders before her. And one order before her, it was me, was no one else, right? But today I can acknowledge that. Zoe, thank you for being such a great friend and supporting the brand.
We love the great friends that support the brand,
exactly.
the early adopters.
I know, but I think that was the point, and that was a moment, or at least starting of a journey of leading to the moment I realized that when you launch, that wasn't when the work stops. It was when the actual work actually starts.
Yeah. And actually, you came from a world of storytelling. So as a founder now, and when telling this story or reflecting on this story, how much do you think that's actually what builds a brand is a lot of the storytelling that leads up to that moment of purchase versus just the product? Because it's so easy to think, I have an amazing product.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to sell.
Yeah. In a modern brand, you have to have the right products to make sure that you gain their loyalty. You have to have the right customer service, the right tone and voice to make sure you build the right community. You have to have the right aesthetics, etc., to make people feel they resonate with what you represent. And also you have to have a cohesive sort of like strategy and plan and purpose, and sometimes even a inspiring founder for people to feel this is really a brand that's worthy of me following.
The expectations from the consumer are just so much more demanding than they used to be.
That's why we're all becoming influencers, because we have to. You got to spread the word. You got to not necessarily talk about your products, but you got to talk about, the purpose behind it, the intention behind everything, and why you are building this and why it deserves to have a place.
Yeah, actually, you went from being behind the scenes, essentially, in most of your career, to all of a sudden now pushing yourself to being the face of the brand. And as we just said, it's become a necessity in today's business space, founder-led product brand especially. So how comfortable or uncomfortable, should I say, was that for you at the start?
I think it definitely got more comfortable. I've had this incredible insecurity about speaking on camera.
Really?
Yes. And my friends kept on telling me off and saying, stop saying that like it's an affirmation. I was like, you're right. I can just practice. Practice make perfect. And it really does. But now my best friends are my ring light and my tripod. Because if I feel some messages are worthy of getting out, then I do that. And not just for my brands. I think I always wanted to tell other women, especially women in their late 30s like me back then, or early 40s, who feel like they have such an established career that is hard for them to leave. I want them to know it's so justified to have that fear, but it's also okay to change at such an established time, because what you actually learned from your job before was not wasted.
Totally.
Even the lawyer skills I have back then, the meticulous attention to detail, the what I noticed between the color differences, or how on it I am about managing situations and how quickly I'm there to notice something is not working, it all worked towards my favor. I got better at speaking because I also stopped caring what other people think of me.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, I think I had this like complete paralysis of perfection or imperfection because I wanted to do things perfect.
I think every founder or
Yeah.
content creator has a bit of that in the beginning, and very quickly you learn to like throw that out of the window.
Yeah, because I would think, oh my God, I have
Yeah.
this spot here. I
Yeah.
have like, my eyes are looking weird today. My
Yeah.
hair is completely a disaster. No one cares. It's
Yeah.
the message that resonates with people.
And I really like what you just shared now around the fact that you changed the course of your career at a point where you were very well established in
Yeah.
your space. And that makes it so much more difficult to take the leap of faith. But it's never too late, A.
Yes.
And second, as you said, nothing is ever lost. All those skills, all that experience, it compounds over time. So you today are going to be a much better founder than you would have been 10 or 15 years ago because of that.
100,000%. Exactly.
Despite all of that, when you started, you described yourself that the first year was defined by manifesting an optimism. At what point did that shift?
I mean, the background is obviously I'm Chinese. I grew up in China until when I was in my early teens. So I was basically brought up in an atheist sort of environment where we were, or at least my generation back then, were taught to believe in science and materialism. So spirituality was definitely not in my repertoire of
Interesting.
knowledge.
Yeah.
And so when I came over, and not even came over, I think during the pandemic, I was introduced to the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I was also introduced to Roxy Nafouzi, and I started to learn about meditation, manifesting. And I think it was the first time I learned the word imposter syndrome, or even realized that my limiting beliefs or self-doubts were actually holding me back. And also I was confined in my comfort zone, and I hadn't ever tried to reach for anything that I wasn't sure whether I was going to reach for. So I think it also came back to, kind of like the experience in my life that nothing was too difficult.
It's funny you say that because I had a similar experience when I read the book, The Growth Mindset.
Yeah.
Most of the things I ever did in my life came easily to me, let's say above average or even excel in most things very naturally. And things that I didn't, I just thought, oh, that's not for me. It's either you have it naturally or you don't.
Yeah.
And when I read The Growth Mindset, I think it was literally the first time that I was confronted to the idea that you can develop ability that you don't naturally have.
And if you don't try, then that is not the same as failing at something after you've tried. So basically, after learning about all the positive stuff and mindset, etc., I think it kind of coincided with Fetti at the very beginning have a sort of upward ticking trend in our growth, which was like not massive in absolute numbers, but it was comforting because you have like positive growth in the 2 months or 3 months post launch, which was amazing. And it was very easy to kind of like attribute all of that to positive mindset and energy and meditation and manifesting. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the sales just plummeted. I was completely in the dark because I had no idea what to do to make a change. So I was like panicking. I literally threw everything at it and hope it would stick. Like paid ads or trying to change our content. I was trying to launch different products and trying to launch different collections. Nothing would move the needle. And that is when you kind of like have to take a conscious step back and go back to really the intentionality of your brand, the core purpose, and sort of endure that uncomfortable time where things are not working out. The core purpose, as
like,
we
why
mentioned.
am I doing this?
Exactly.
Why is this worth my time? And why will I keep on doing it?
And why you believe in it and keep on doing what you do, even though all the results and numbers are telling you otherwise, like telling you this is not promising and not working out.
Yeah.
But it's also, I felt like it was a moment that I personally needed.
Yeah.
It was incredibly grounding. it was a learning experience for sure. And you quickly grow as a founder of trying out different resources, different ways, is taking different decisions and trying out different things to make sure that things doesn't tank.
I want to stick to exactly this moment of discomfort because there was a specific moment you shared with me around budgeting, which confronted you to the reality that you didn't actually have financial clarity up until
No,
that point.
not at all.
So what happened there, and how did you start to think differently about money and budgeting and I guess finance in the scope of this business?
I actually absolutely thought I have financial clarity because I'm like, I know exactly what is going out of my bank account.
Yeah.
I know exactly what expenses we were paying. I thought I was wholly different and above everybody else because, I'm so on it. But I think I came down to a really unpleasant argument with my husband, bless him. There was one morning when I casually just went to him asking for investment into my small business. And he got so angry, which was a shock because normally he's so loving and compromising. But he got angry because he's been asking me to do a budget for the past year. And I have had all the excuses under the sun as to why I haven't started it. I prioritized everything else before this budgeting. And for me, my excuses I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm aware of the expenses that go out of my bank account. But all you want me to do is to just consolidate everything together. He said, no, a budget is also where you make your forecast and understand what you are doing throughout the year, or either 12 months or 5 months or 24 months, right?
Yeah.
When are you going to spend money on launching something, so you need more money on production? When are you going to shoot a campaign? When are you going to have paid ads? When are you doing collab? When are you traveling, etc.? I was like, oh, right.
It's like mapping out the whole financial, I guess, the timeline and the expenditures, your goals as well, and your expectations.
So I was like, well, I didn't know. So I got incredibly upset, but that was exactly what I needed, especially from the person that loves me and I love the most. I actually didn't take Fetti as seriously as I thought I did.
Yeah, very
And that was a
interesting.
very moment I realized, money doesn't come into your bank account just because you wanted to or you manifested for it. It kind of like requires a lot of the unglamorous financial planning, budgeting, ensuring you have enough to cover what of your outgoings. I think my advice would be that always stay lean on cost, regardless of your budget. Because, at least at the beginning, if not always and ever, because this is my motto now. I'd be like, if I can stay lean, it's much better to stay lean.
And also, if you stay lean, then if you make a mistake, your mistake is not going to be that costly.
Yeah, you have the buffer to make sure it's not a float or tank situation.
Exactly. And so now, how do you balance this intuition, creativity with, on the other side, the discipline and the business mindset?
Intuition part is very interesting that you asked, because I never really thought myself as a person that is hugely intuitive. I really never understood what it meant. But doing the internal work with manifesting or with meditation, with learning about your insecurities, your comfort zones, your limiting beliefs, etc., really was a self-discovering journey that helped you through that. And you actually can learn to be more intuitive. And I feel my gut instinct now is way better than back then when I was in a corporate environment. And I think your intuition as a founder is really what lead the vision.
100%.
You need that. You need to trust your gut instinct. You need to trust your intuition, and you need to know you're building a brand based on you. Objectively speaking, there will be other people who are better at things than you, who have better aesthetics or taste in life, etc. But they wouldn't be building a brand that is yours. You are. So you got to stay true to that. So as to the creativity part, I think is hugely important. But I think the daily mundane definitely trumps it. As a journalist, I've seen so many amazing, amazing creative brands kind of like fizzle out in the end because they were not commercially viable, because they were doing all these projects that is so creative, so artistic, that is so worthy of everybody's praise or attention. But in the end, it doesn't really generate something that can flow your business into a viable future.
Yeah, you really
Yeah.
need both.
Because you need someone who's good with tightening the purse
Yeah.
strings and to understand what is okay
Yeah.
to spend, what is not. Because if something is, well, if there's one specific project you want to do and you know it's going to work, your gut instinct is telling you so, but the first try didn't really pan out exactly how you wanted, do you have enough resources to do it 3 times, 4 times until it finally tick? Or are you going to burn out and fizzle kind of like
Yeah.
in the process?
Yeah.
So I think that is so important. It's nice to be remembered as the person who is an artist, but I don't know, died starving. But it would be better if your work stayed on in a more kind of like secured environment.
So walk me through how Fetti actually works in terms of like how the product is made, the reality of the supply chain, you know, everything that goes into it so that it lands on our beautiful fingertips.
I mean, we have, when I say production is quite untraditional, especially thinking our production is in Asia and China. Because of the handmade nature of the
Yeah.
product, when I say my manufacturer, I don't mean a factory full of machinery. I actually means studios of rows and rows of manicurists. They are actually curating nail art and crafting 3D stuff literally by hand. Some of the stuff they do,
I mean,
I had no idea existed in that field of expertise. So I actually went to China to meet my first manufacturer who I still work with today. They were literally the loveliest people and gave me a chance when I could only place very small orders.
Yeah.
Now we have grown and we have multiple providers, but they have remained one of the people that just like are so close to my heart.
Yeah.
And we're like so, which makes you realize, even though in a very sort of technology forward driven society like today, it really is still people and people's kindness that is behind absolutely everything.
yeah, the importance of building
Yeah.
genuine relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our production is very hands-on. You can't really just go to a manufacturing company and say, this is the cost. Can you pull a lever and make the machine go overtime and just have all these units delivered? Literally, if we have a TikTok video go viral and land 5,000 orders of a single specific style and I'm out of stock, I can't fulfill it in a matter of hours or even days sometimes. It's all about the human capacity.
Yeah. I want to talk about something you completely underestimated in terms of the products fulfillment.
I was so optimistic. I also over-ordered in my first batch, thinking they were going to sell out immediately. But I know other people who started, for example, phone case companies, brands, etc. You don't realize that a single style and minimum quantity in the smallest factory will be like, say, 300-500.
Yeah.
And you don't just have one design, and you don't just have one phone model.
You have the length, you have the size, you have the shape, you have the color
and the design. Yes.
So that matrix, I was like, how does this work? That
actually
creates so many variations.
I have to, that is purely me, like the magpie who's attracted to everything and couldn't make a decision of what style to include. I'm just like, this looks amazing, that looks amazing. People will love this and someone else will like this. And the right decision to make really for someone is to stay with a core collection that appeals the majority of the customers, and then you heavily market these ones. And also it's overwhelming for customers.
Of course. And I think also with time, you'll collect data about what's working, what's not.
For sure.
So you recently dealt with a fulfillment center issue, and I'm sure it wasn't the first. What does a crisis like that teach you practically and emotionally about how to deal and lead a business?
It's best to make a swift decision and pull the plug, then considering, the sunken cost, what we have done, and also the time and resources it's going to take to maneuver everything around. No, just make a decision. If it's not working, it's not working. But emotionally, what I've learned is to never take it personally. is either the capacity of the business kind of were not going to fulfill what you want them to fulfill, or the standard of the quality is not what you were expecting.
Exactly.
You can't change, you just move
Yeah,
on. And
yeah.
if there are costs to be recuperated, you find a way to do that.
You want to fail fast, right?
Yes.
So if something doesn't work, you want to quickly learn from that.
Hire slow, fire fast.
Exactly.
Yes,
It's
that's the
exactly
one.
that.
Yes.
You want to quickly move on. That's
Yes,
it. You learn
correct.
your lesson. Let's move on. I want to talk about press because obviously you've been featured in loads of publications, the Financial Times, Harper's Bazaar, The Guardian. A lot of these press coverages are often glamorized, especially for founders that have, no connections, no background in this space. Do those convert into sales, or is there still a huge gap between attention and revenue?
I think it's a thing that people rarely talk about or acknowledge. I think there is definitely a gap, probably a huge gap, because just getting into prestigious publications does not guarantee you're going to have a tidal wave of orders pouring in. It gives you instead kind of like a trust badge that you can put on yourself or put on your website, and hopefully when people find you through other channels, they were gonna be made to stay more likely. But having said that, being in the Financial Times, Harper's Bazaar, and The Guardian was a huge privilege. And it does give you so much of a buzz and acknowledgement, feeling like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. But at the same time, for all the founders, if you're thinking that's a silver bullet, oh, I'm going to get into Vogue and my brand is going to be made, you're going to have a very different story and rude awakening awaiting you. It also depends on publications, I think. So which is why I think when you pitch story to a journalist or to a publication, don't pitch your products. Pitch a story that is made suitable to the publication's specific audience, because you're selling this experience and the story behind the brand that makes the brand that much more lovable.
What is the most expensive mistake you've ever made?
Oh my God.
And I guess, how did you fix it? What did it really cost you?
I think if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, the absolute number wasn't too bad. It was a few thousands, right? It was still very much under 10 grand sort of mark. And it was to do with our fulfillment center. So basically the story is they made 500 or more of my boxes dirty. And I mean, those boxes, we poured our heart into it. We designed it. We matched all the Pantone colors. We made sure the materials a certain way. We made sure our little, like logos and everything, and also the QR code is printed in the back,
they're
etc.
so chic. Like the
I
look
know.
and feel, everything about it
Yeah.
feels very intentional.
When I tried to negotiate with a compensation, they didn't even open up to the conversation. They weren't open to the conversation. So I'm like, okay, well, in that case, I'm going to swiftly get out, pay what I owe you,
Yeah.
and then we'll go through other avenues to claim the cost back. When that happens, obviously, one is nice to stay lean on cost. So we have some like savings to cover that kind of like shortfall.
You need that buffer.
And two, you got to move fast. But it became so rewarding. I discovered how much more we were paying on the cost of fulfillment. It almost made it not worthy of having. So, and also bring everything in-house.
And you brought fulfillment in-house.
I brought everything in-house. So we
well
didn't even
done.
go into a different fulfillment center. And having everything under one roof, it actually makes everything so much easier as well. It actually felt very liberating.
You said something that really stuck with me last time when we spoke on the phone, that as women, we always carry an idea of where we need to be at a certain time in life. When did you break from that timeline? And how do you now think about designing your life?
I have always thought, coming from a traditional Chinese family, being the only child, my parents have such a sort of like expectations of me, especially on that front. I mean, I think my dad probably want nothing more than me to have a baby right now. Today, I still subconsciously feel this is the one point I disappointed my parents the most. And I think a baby in their eyes was an inherent part of a female journey that is unmissable. So I think what I've learned now is that, well, one, be confident in what you want. Don't try to please anybody else. You gotta know what you want. You can't just be like, one day I want this, the other day I want that. I get influenced by so many people, etc. So even though we feel like there is a level of responsibility to our loved ones, we still need to be our own happiest, truest self by living the life that we want, because this is the journey that's a privilege that we get to experience. So just make sure this is the direction you're going to take now, and make sure you're living your fullest, best life in this choice. And if there's another day you feel like, oh, I wanted to pick the other road, then you just pick the other road and work towards that.
Is building Fetti part of your return in any way to your Chinese roots and culture?
I definitely feel like now I'm drawn to ancient literature, poetry, a lot more than, say, a year back. I started to appreciate songs in Chinese, and I really hear the lyrics. And I started to have this like, well, I mean, I always knew the beauty of the language, especially written, because it's able to sort of like decipher the emotions so precisely, and is able to kind of like paint the picture so vividly with so few words, right? So I think it's a beautiful language, and I'm very drawn to that side of it. It really has brought a very fresh and unique perspective to myself, and in turn to the brand.
That's such a beautiful way of like homecoming to yourself, mining that with your culture and your origin.
For sure.
I have some last fire questions.
Okay.
Things you wish you had known earlier.
I learned that to have the confidence that as long as you have a 100% unwavering focus on something, it's gotta work. You just gotta give it time. You can't rush it. Just gotta have faith, knowing that as long as you're consistently showing up for yourself, one day it's gonna take off.
That is so true.
Yeah.
The moment you realize this is working.
When we started to have organic customers, and also when they place repetitive orders. And that was like, oh. And they didn't even, they weren't a friend. They weren't introduced by a friend. They weren't an influencer's friend. They weren't seeing a piece of whatever. They just found us
like
organically.
An actual customer.
And that, it doesn't get old, ever.
A skill that you had to learn faster than expected.
I learned to sort of combine my very elementary skills in sketching together with colors, together with a verbal sort of like description, and my shallow knowledge of how nails and all the products work obtained from social media to communicate exactly what I wanted.
Also, you're the creative director behind the designs as well.
Like this is,
The hardest part of building a business that no one talks about.
The hardest part is probably to relinquish control over to other people over things that I can't control. Not even delegating. Like if I can't, if the shipping was stuck in custom, and I was like, oh my God. And that makes things imperfect. And for me, I always thrive to be perfect, but I'm learning to be a little bit more like not defined by the outcome of what I'm trying to do.
What keeps you grounded on hard days?
Self-growth and love.
I like that.
Yeah, because I think I'm very lucky in the sense that I have a safety net mentally. I have a safety net mentally, knowing if this fails, not that I need them to accept me, but I still will love my parents or my husband to accept me, and my friends will accept me. And most importantly, I will accept myself if this fails, because I know I've done everything. And I wouldn't stop until I've done everything. So the possibility of it fails probably minimal, because maybe you pivot, because your journey doesn't stop. You don't have a finite time. You just keep on working on it.
It only fails the moment you stop and walk away.
Oh, that's that's really good. That is really good.
That should be a quote. Should be print it here.
Exactly.
You only fail the moment you stop. So keep going.
We get it on the back of our t-shirt, because I really want a t-shirt that says nail dealer.
I love that. Angela, that was such a good conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. Let's keep the wheels turning and the community growing. So make sure to subscribe. The bigger the channel, the bigger the guests we can bring you.